Video 6, I'm going to be expanding on our PHP knowledge in here quite drastically. We're going to be looking at the includes. So we're actually going to start changing the way our entire system works. We're looking at the current moment in time is the index.php for session 3. We already had a look at that, and we had a look at the way the PHP down here selects the data using a select query. And we've seen how that variables can be used to be displayed within speech marks, and everything works really nicely. The website looks like this, and the only difference in session 2 was that the data here is actually selected from the database, but you can see from the actual page source, as far as the user is concerned, apart from a bit of messy coding here, it just looks like standard HTML, nothing clever. All they can see is the results of that. So we've obviously finished with session 3. So let's have a look at what happens with session number 4. Session 4 looks exactly the same. And that's because that's what we want it to look. The difference here is we have a look. Here's our connection. Looks exactly the same as here, but if we look lower down the document, we can suddenly see that we've got the new piece here. And in fact, if we look at the scroll bar on the right hand side, you should notice a significant change to the length of the scroll bar. That's session 3. Session 4 is a lot longer, which means the document's a lot shorter. Let's go down as far as we can on this one. So if we notice, we're on line 14 here. So I'm just going to scroll this down to line 14. And you can see that we've still got more of the document, that new PHP that we wrote. But here, that's the end of the document. So what's changed here? Well, the div to navbar, div container to the div navbar has remained the same. This part of the code has remained the same. We've also still got the div class clear, the clear statement that removes the floats in the div, and here we've got the end div. That's the end div for this div here. Sorry, that's the end div for this div here. That ends this div. And we've still got our div ID main, but then that's all gone. So our div ID main is there, these still exist, but all of this, all this table has completely disappeared to there. Instead, we've got this single command. The rest of the document remains the same. So what is this new command? It's actually a single command. Notice this PHP question mark PHP, sorry, PHP declaration, the end PHP declaration, and it's a single line. There's no reason why I didn't just simply tab in and bring that up to there. It's only the fact that I don't do that. It's not the way I code. I like to have things structured this way. But notice what it's saying. Include. Well, include means to bring into what we're doing. And then we've got an address to pages nav. And if we look at our website, there's our folder pages, and there's a nav PHP document. And that's the bit that was missing from here. This was the part that's disappeared. So the nav has been moved to a completely separate document, and the include simply says, bring it in. Just bring it into here. Make it look like a document. Notice it's done it here as well. I've done this here. So between the main and the end of the main div, all of the main content has been put into a main.php. That's within pages, and there it is. So these documents that we were creating before that weren't of any use are now beginning to appear, and these two new documents exist within these folders. If you remember, with all the previous sessions, let's look back at session 3, we had these folders. The CSS was inside there. In pages were these three: add, delete, edit. But if you remember in the very first video, they simply have the forms. But by session 4, we've still got the CSS in there. We don't touch that ever in these videos. And in pages, We've now not just got the 3 we started with, they haven't changed at all, but we've now got these 2 new PHP files, main.php and nav.php. The main.php hasn't changed one bit at all. It's still the same stuff. All I've done is I've just shifted everything that was in the ID main and I've moved it across to here into the main. And that might seem to not make any sense, but it will do later on. It also means that we can work on this main page, but there's other things we can do that are very clever. Same thing with the nav. I can actually code the nav, or I could ask someone else to code the nav page for me, and I just include it in there. I don't need to know what it's doing. Someone else can write that piece of the page for me. So we've now found include in there, and this is a really significant change to the system because our web page is looking shorter and shorter. And we're ending up with a really nice way of the system working. That's it for this video. Really simple, really nice. Get yours working, then we'll see you in the next video.